Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Discourse in Magic. My name is Jonah Babbins, and in this episode, we sit down with Randy Shine. Randy is a worker, but more specifically, he is a college performer, which is historically a really challenging market to succeed in. In this episode, we talk about how to succeed in the college market, but we also talk about so many other things, most specifically underrepresentation in Magic and what exactly it is that we can do about it. So, I think you're going to like this episode. I think you're going to learn a lot. Here we are with the one and only Randy Shine. Hello, friends, and welcome to Discourse in Magic. I am here with Randy Shine. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. Let's start at the very beginning. How did you get started in Magic?
Okay, here we go. The John questions. I love these. Okay, so how did I get started? A little bit different than most magicians. I got started when I was in graduate school at Penn State University. I walked into the student union and I was sitting down and I saw some other students doing some card tricks. Walked over to their table, introduced myself, and we formed a club after that. One of those students you may know, or the magic community may know, is Francis Minotti.
Wow.
Ben Salinas.
What a cool background story.
Yeah, so Francis and I are good friends to this day. He does live here in Philadelphia with me. So we formed the Magic Club. The interesting thing is that the advisor to the Magic Club was the president of the university because he did magic for a hobby. So we got to go to magic conventions and purchase magic books and DVDs off the budget of the university.
Oh my gosh.
That was the biggest, I don't know, I'm not going to say a con, but that was incredible because we registered as a official club on the university, and the university allocated funds for every club. So we said, hey, we want to use money to buy props. We want to use money to buy books. We want to use money to go to magic conventions for educational purposes.
I can hear you winking through the microphone when you say educational purposes.
Exactly. And the club is still in existence today, and we had some great performers who are still performing today who are members of the clubs. David Darwin, who's a juggler, does a little magic, but he's primarily juggler. Michael Dubois, who's a circus act, is really known in the college market and beyond. He went to Penn State. He was part of the club. Brian Fauché, who's out in Florida. He was a member of the club. I have an interesting story about Brian and how that relates to the club and me getting involved in magic also.
First of all, I love the origin story of that little magic club forming.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always super intrigued and impressed with people's stories when it feels like they drop an entire life behind to pursue magic. It's this enchanting thing that happens in our industry that is so cool, and it happens all over. People are like, I was gonna go be a computer scientist, but I decided to do this. So tell me a little bit about that moment and that turning point. What were you studying, and then what steps did you take that you went from not knowing magic to it being your job? Tell me about the self-talk in there.
Okay, this is the part I really love sharing. So as I said, I was a graduate student at Penn State. I was studying health education. My undergraduate was in health policy and administration. I was studying health education, the research side of health education. When I completed my degree, I moved to South Africa because I was doing research at the University of the Western Cape in South Africa for about a year. While I was down there, there is a place called the College of Magic in Cape Town. And it's not a college as we think of colleges, but it's an organization that teaches magic to anyone who would like to learn magic. But it's set up, it's structured as if, all right, freshman year you learn the basics, sophomore year you learn this, junior year, senior year.
This looks phenomenal. I just looked it up. This looks incredible.
Oh yes, it is phenomenal. And the beautiful thing about it is that the students who go through this, they get a comprehensive training on all aspects. I'm talking about production, creating scenes, performance, movement, circus arts. They learn all of that. All of that. It is
This is
incredible.
wild. This is
Yes.
wild. I encourage everyone to go check out, I'm assuming I'm in the right place because it's Cape Town, South Africa,
Yes, that's it.
collegeofmagic.com. This is mind blowing. You know, the reason I say it is I remember as a kid, someone like when people used to ask me if there's a magic school, I had remembered that there was a magic school I didn't remember if it was South Africa or if it was in like Australia. It was somewhere that I remember that like I didn't know. Like
Mhm.
I didn't like I was a kid when I heard about it. And as you said it, I was like, this is probably that thing that I've been not remembering as a
Yes.
kid. And now I'm like looking at this and this is outstanding. Do you know how long it's been around?
Over 30 years, I believe. And
Wow.
uh,
Yeah. Wow.
several magicians worldwide have went there to lecture, uh, support it in various ways. I know Siegfried
Wow.
Roy was one of the big supporters of the College of Magic. So while I was down there, I just kind of finagled my way and said, "Hey, can I teach a class?" And while I was down there, so they allowed me to teach the beginners close-up class. As they say, I'm teaching, but when you teach, you're also learning. And I'm learning so much, not just from the students that in my class, but the other students, the other faculty. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I met this gentleman named Stuart Taylor. He was a faculty slash teacher at the time. We became very good friends. Actually, he was one of my best men in my wedding. Well, Stuart ended up becoming a comedian. And when I left South Africa, I went back around 8 times to perform at the South African Arts Festival, which is an incredible thing. Well, one time, Stuart said, I have this gig for you at a comedy club. I said, okay, all right. So, and Stuart he transitioned out of magic to comedy at this time. So I was the opening act, and I don't mind that because it's a comedy club. This is their space. The closer was no other than Trevor Noah
No way. That's
before he
crazy.
became who he is today.
Oh, that's great.
It is. So I came back to the United States, started working at the University of Penn, part of a research team in the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. At the same time, I was in a PhD program at Drexel University, working on my PhD in public health. After a year of doing both of those, I said, I want to do magic for a living. And I quit both of those. I called my friend Brian Fauché that I met from college because he was a local agent now, booking locally in the tri state area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And I said, Brian, I want to be a full time magician. I need to get some gigs. He said, about damn time. And that started it. And for the past 16 years, I've been performing full time.
Wow. So a few things there stick out to me, but what an amazing story. That's so crazy. The first thing is you are proper Harry Potter. Like you discovered magic and then you went to a magic school and then you went back to the normal world and you're like, this is just not good enough. That's an amazing story. That's like, can I tell you, your way into magic is like what people dream of what it's like to get into magic. Like when people ask me how I got into magic, they wish it was like that. So that's the first of all. What an amazing story. And the biggest thing that sticks out is deciding to take the leap and go do magic full time when you've got like another job. And so what's the timeline like? How long was it between seeing that first trick in the cafeteria to deciding that you're not going to keep doing your work? How long was that period?
The timeline wasn't short. It was around 7 years was the
7.
timeline.
Okay.
That was the timeline. Now, during that 7 years, I was doing magic part time on the side whenever I could get a
Right.
gig. But doing research required a lot of time and
And you were
energy.
getting 2 degrees simultaneously, or sorry, research and getting a degree at the same time, so
Correct, correct. So that took a lot of time and effort,
mhm.
but I would go and do gigs whenever I could, and all types of gigs. And I'm not ashamed of that. I was doing kids' birthday parties. I filled in for a couple friends at a restaurant. I house parties, those types of things. And during that time, Brian Fauché and Francis Minotti would say, "Randy, you need to go full time. You can do this. You can do this." Because Francis moved to Philadelphia after he finished his degree, and he stayed with me for a while. Remember, I was in graduate school. He was an undergraduate in graduate, so he stayed with me for a while until he, got his bearings. But he would just always say, "Hey, Rand, you should go." Brian said, "Hey, I'm an agent. You should go." And when I finally made that decision, I said, "You know what? This burning desire, I have to do." And it's one of those things I heard someone say yesterday, 2 days ago. They said, when your gift and your passion align and there's a market for it, then you should pursue it. So, what is your passion? Well, for me, my passion was magic. Now, what it was my gift? My gift was it just came natural to me to get in front of people. That was ingrained in me from a child because my father was a pastor, is a pastor of a church, and we always had to get up and do little Christmas plays and things like that. So that was natural to me. And so when you have your gift and your passion and they align and there's a market for that, go pursue it.
For sure.
So I never had a second thought about when I decided to make that decision, that leap. It wasn't a plan B in my head. It really wasn't. It wasn't like, oh, what I'm going to do now. No, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. My friends in college, they're doing it. So how come I cannot do it?
Totally. And it's so amazing that you had people there for the leap, to be able to like catch you or at least welcome you, into the world. The same thing happened with me. Like if I didn't have so many connections to like people that were actually full-time magicians that I was like, this is real. Like as a kid, I never envisioned doing it because the only magician I could think of was like David Copperfield. And then when I saw real people that were like 5 years older than me living in the same city I lived in that were like as good as me or a little better or a little worse, you're like, you know what? I guess this is possible. I guess I could do this.
No, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's important to have that support and people, like you said, who can catch you, who could give you advice, who can mentor you. Because this is a crazy business, and people who are not in this business often look at us like we're crazy. Like, what did you do? Like we ran off and joined the circus.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
And then people often say, at least to me, they said, "Well, can you make a living off of this?" And I quickly pull out my cell phone and I said, "Look, this is me a few years ago. This is me now. What is the difference?" The difference is I gained some weight, which means I'm eating. I'm not a starving artist. That's the difference. But I want to loop back to something you said about, people and seeing people. And like you said, you saw David Copperfield. And I just want to pivot back to Brian Fauché for a moment because one day Brian wanted to show me a couple of tricks. So I met him in his dorm room and he said, "Oh, yeah, I got something for you." Remember, I'm new to magic now and I'm in graduate school. And he said, "Oh, you should start reading these magic magazines. It has a lot of information in there." And I said, "Okay, all right, fine." So he passed me one and I was like, "Who is this?" And he said, "Hiawatha." And I was like, "Who is Hiawatha?" He said, "Oh, you don't know your own people." It was the funniest thing to me. It was Genie magazine with Hiawatha on the cover. Hiawatha is an African American magician. And I saw that and it clicked. I was like, wow, there are professional magicians that look like me. Wow, that speaks volumes. Why does that speaks volumes? And I think that played a very important part in me pursuing magic full time. It played a part because there's a saying that goes, if you can't see it, you can't be it. in anything you do, there is no model, or you don't see yourself in those spaces. And so that's why it's a big thing when you have the Williams sisters in tennis. That's why it's a big thing when you have Tiger Woods in golf, because you don't know about a world. For some people, you don't know about a different world, a career, a path, or a hobby or something if you're not exposed to it, if you don't see someone doing it that's representation of you. And so that was a pivotal moment in my career that I think stuck with me subconsciously as I went through this journey of becoming a magician.
What a fantastic thing to highlight. I really, really like that. I really got value out of the idea of saying like I didn't think it was possible until I could see somebody like me doing it. And
Mhm,
like, that's not even something that I ever thought about,
mhm.
even though I was just saying it, right? I
Right.
never thought about the fact that I could not see people like me and that would not motivate me to go be in an industry where I'm not in, right? Where I don't see myself and I don't exist. So what a great moment. What a great way to also start talking about some of the topics which I know you are a real champion of, which
Mhm.
is talking about African Americans and magic and the overlap and the lack of visibility and things like that. So I don't know almost where to start with it. I feel like I just want to kind of give you the floor and say like, what's the situation as it stands right now? And then maybe what can the general magician public do about it? And then tell us a little bit about some of the cool stuff that you're
I
doing.
would start off by saying it's complex and it's very nuanced.
Hmm.
And let's pick up where I just left off at. You can ask any African American magician, have they ever been told, "Oh, you're the only black magician I've ever seen. You're the only African American magician I've ever seen." And that's coming from everyone. African Americans, whites, Asians, doesn't make a difference. But the truth is that there are a lot of us out there that are performing. There are a lot of us out there that are performing. And there's a lot of us who's been performing even before I was born, even before this generation. I mean, we have, well, let's go back in history. The first American born magician was a man of color named Richard Potter. And he had a great career. As a matter of fact, a book was written by him, I mean, not by him, about him last year, called Richard Potter, The Greatest American Entertainer, something along those lines. But you could Google it and you could find that out. So it tells you about his life as being the first American born. Forget about him being a person of color, because he was of mixed race, but uh, but he was the first American born magician, and he lived this incredible life as a magician. He was highly successful during his time. And this is information that we have to unearth, and we have to find out, and we have to research, and really get to the root of this and bring it up and share it with that magic community. Because when we think about magic from a historical aspect, we hear about the greats, the Houdinis, the Kellers, the Thurstons, but there was these other magicians out there who were just as prominent as they were. Now, due to the social climate at the time, that's why they get buried. We could talk about Henry Box Brown, who was enslaved in Virginia, and he obtained his freedom by packing himself in a crate and was shipped to Philadelphia to the abolitionist movement in Philadelphia. And that's how he got his freedom. Later on, he became a magician, and he was used magic to illustrate some of the hardships of slavery. As a matter of fact, Kevin Hart did a Netflix special on Black history, and he talks about Henry Box Brown in there. And so, this information is coming out more and more. So, in contemporary magicians, we have people like Jack Goldfinger. He's the one who books all the acts for the colleges. You have Michael Vincent over in England. You have Jamal Keys. You have Kid Ace. who's in a college market and this cruise ship market who's killing the game. You have Mondre, you have Hiawatha, who I mentioned in Virginia, and some of the other guys, the giants who passed on, like Frank Brent's. And now you can ask anyone about Frank Brent's in New York. They'll Any of the old school magicians, they'll tell you about Frank Brent's. And there's some things that Frank Brent's created that magicians are still doing today. But Frank was the type of person who would just, he felt if you wanted to learn magic, he would tell you and share everything. He wasn't guarded. You have Earl Presto Johnson. Genie Magazine has done a good service in highlighting African American magicians throughout the years, writing about them, giving a historical context of them. And so that's just where we are today. Just unearthing that history and sharing that history because it's good for the magic community.
Just to pause, just to better understand. So what you're saying is like, this isn't news. This isn't like there's a big rush of African-American magicians. This is that the documentation is not really there. And now we're starting to uncover some of the greats in magic who were not being talked about because of the documentation. Is that right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's the documentation, but then you have to go back years ago. Years ago. And I'll give you a good example. Most magicians have learned the ring and string routine. You put a finger ring on a string, you do the move, the ring vanishes off the string, it's in your hand, or you make it appear somewhere. Well, the person who developed that was a gentleman named Emil Clifton. Emil Clifton, he registered for the Society of American Magicians National Convention one year. Just by mailing in his registration. When he showed up, he wasn't allowed in, and the reason why he wasn't allowed in is because he was he was an African American man, and they didn't allow women in at the time either. The irony of it all is Emil Clifton was a Tuskegee Airman, so basically he fought in the war for this country, for the freedom of this country, but he wasn't allowed in to participate in a community that he enjoyed and he loved. And he created a move that these magicians were using at the time. And that was just the social climate of the time. I'm not saying anything against the Society of American Magicians. That's the social climate at the time, as horrible as it was. And so when you have individuals like that and their stories, their legacies get lost, it's not as easy to unearth and find that documentation of what these individuals are doing. And so there are magicians out there now who are researching, finding out, doing interviews with these individuals. Some magicians now who are good friends with these individuals, and they collected their notes, their props. And so now, as you said, we're unearthing all of this. We're finding out, and which is a good thing.
Do you think that some of it has allowed more African Americans to enter the industry, or not really? Things are the same. We're just sort of unearthing some history. And do you understand what I'm asking? Like,
Yes,
is the graph going up or not really?
the graph is going up, and for two reasons. But I want to say something first. I don't think that there's this concerted effort to keep African Americans out of magic. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I want to be clear on that. It's going up. Why? Because social media. We're seeing,
Love it.
and social media, I have a love-hate relationship with it as it relates to magic, but it is giving people a platform to go out there and learn from other magicians, to put whatever they learned or purchased on there, good or bad. Like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with
Yeah.
this. But now we're connecting with people. We're connecting with people. I met this young man on Instagram named RJ Lewis, who's a phenomenal young magician out in Wisconsin. We're talking, we're sharing ideas, and this is going across the world. So the internet and social media has opened the doors and the platform and given the platform for everyone to come out there and showcase their things. And then we can make connections with people. So I can say, hey, RJ, are you coming to the Genie convention? I don't know anything about the Genie convention. Oh, you don't? Oh, you need to come to this convention. RJ comes to the convention. He sees everything at this convention, these great performers. Now we're introducing a new person to the magic community who's going to really get involved. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. What it made me think of is the thing that you brought up earlier, this idea of seeing people just like yourself in the places that you want to be,
Mhm.
and really understanding that that's one of the great things that social media allows us to understand is like there is hopefully someone else, like whoever you are listening to this, like there is someone else just like you or a lot like you who is here. And that's not the only reason why you should be welcome, but hopefully you can find that person and that can give you that outstretched hand or whatever it is to help more people, become a part of this, right?
And think about this for women in magic. Oh my gosh. I mean, wow. We're starting to see that too, a uptick in women in magic, which I think is wonderful.
I think magic should be as diverse as the world is, right?
Yes.
It should not be restricted to anybody or even leaning towards anybody. And I'll give you maybe a question. This is something that I'm struggling with. So in our community here in Toronto,
Mhm,
we're trying our hardest to be as diverse as we can. And what that means is whoever wants to be on the show is welcome to be on the show, right? And we
mhm,
encourage everybody who wants to be on the show to be on the show. And if we've got young kids, we encourage them to be on the show. And if we have women, we encourage them to be on the show. And if we have African Americans, we encourage them to be on the show. But we don't. We don't really have
mhm,
African Americans in our community, and I'm generalizing. Obviously, we do have a few. But what do we do in a position like this where we have shows we want to help the cause, but we're looking around, and the best we can do is find the very few that are around and say, come be a part of our show, right? So what is somebody doing? I'm not assuming that you have the answer, but my eyes have been really open to women in magic in the
mhm,
past 1 or 2 years, and my eyes are being opened now more and more to this,
mhm.
and I'm trying to understand like what can we do to help the situation.
I'm gonna tell you what you have done, and that is the fact that you're making an effort and your eyes are open. That's all it takes because you just said it's hard to find people in your community. So, all right, there may not be people in your immediate community, but you're open and you're willing. So you have a space where people, women, African Americans, Asians, even to some extent now, because I just found out about a transgendered magician who will say, "Hey, I could come into this space and I could perform, and it's a safe space, and I feel welcome into this community, this brotherhood, this sisterhood." And so the fact that you are open to that and you're looking, that's what you can do, and that's what you're doing. So that's my response to that.
I'm happy to know that we're doing everything. Let's change
Mhm.
focus a little bit and talk about some of the awesome things that you have done in this area. The one thing I wanted to chat with you about is something called Quiet Masters of Magic,
Yes.
which appeared and it was everywhere for a bit. It was really exciting. So tell us a little bit about what that is, Quiet Masters of Magic.
The Quiet Masters of Magic is a documentary on the history of African American magicians. Ice McDonald was the person who produced it, filmed it, and his team edited it. Ice was the first president of the International Association of Black Magical Artists, and he's also the first African American president of the Society of American Magicians. He's past president. I think he was 2 years ago. And so he wanted to document the experiences of African American magicians going as far back as he could to present day. And I was really excited to be a part of that documentary. You can find it on Amazon, I believe. I think it's
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, I
Yeah,
believe.
it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I encourage everyone to check that out because you're going to see the diversity in magic and the diversity amongst African American magicians on their philosophies, on their styles. And you'll also learn about this rich history that's been going on for centuries for African American magicians. It is really compelling, and I believe Ice may do a volume two of this. I believe he will. Actually, I'm trying to encourage him to do a volume two because there's so much that wasn't captured in the first documentary that he has footage of,
Oh, wow.
but you can't put all of that in. It'll be too long.
Yeah.
So that is a great documentary.
It's amazing. You've got the likes of like the Eversons and like you said, Michael Vincent and Ice McDonald. And, you've put a lot of things into really great framing. And I encourage everyone to go check that out. It's really great. And, one of the things I'm always pumped about is magic in pop culture and magic in the public eye. And there's so many magic TV shows and stuff that don't get the Jonah Babbins thumbs up seal of approval. This one did. So
Wow, thank you.
it was
Well,
awesome. It was
Ice,
awesome.
I'm glad you mentioned magic and pop culture. Magic and pop culture, and I want to tie it into what we're talking about. I'm trying to think in terms of how many African Americans have you seen on a magic tour? Let's say the champions of magic, the illusionists, tours like that, and also when you look at television. Actually, Penn and Teller's Foolish has done a good job of showing a broad, diverse group of magicians. They've done a very good job at that. Some of the other shows, and I'm not saying I want to say something else. I'm not saying, oh, just because someone is a woman or just because someone is African American, they should be on the show. No, they have to be good. They have to be good. That's the gatekeeper to me. You have to be good in order to get
Mhm.
to this platform. Now let's find the good ones and let's put them on this platform.
So let me ask you an interesting question. So I was
Mhm.
at last week or the other week. I was at a really interesting event, which was out of character for me. It was an event about women in politics in Canada, and the
Mhm.
reason it was uncharacteristic is I'm not too deep in politics. But it was a friend of mine was on the panel, and I was very excited, and it was an incredible event. And two women premiers of Ontario were talking, and there was an interesting conversation that went back and forth. And one of them said, look at all of the mediocre white men that are in politics. I hope one day that there can be mediocre women in politics too. And I thought that was great. And I
Mhm.
laughed and I thought it was amazing. And I was like, what a brilliant idea. This hope that like there'll be so many women in politics that there can be mediocre women too. And that not the best of the best have to get through. And then the other one disagreed with her. And she said, no, I don't want to give any mediocre women their not give them their shot. I don't want to give any mediocre women this opportunity when we can get the great ones and showcase ourselves at our best. And it's an interesting back and forth. And the same thing that you're bringing up right here, which is like, I don't think someone deserves to be on it because they're African American, but I think we should seek out those that are awesome and African American intentionally. Right.
Correct.
And it was just a conversation that really opened my eyes to the right way, or at least the lenses to understand, like bringing in underrepresented groups
Mm.
into certain industries, whether that's government or magic or whatever.
Right, right, right. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Let's move on because
Mhm.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the college market. And you have really slayed it in the college market. You've won a specific award multiple years in a row, the
Mm.
APCA Magician of the Year. And if I understand correctly, and I do want you to walk me through it, but that is one of those awards, just to put in perspective the college market, it's sort of like a few times a year or once a year, there's a convention where you get to show your magic, and
Mhm.
then you get booked out based on how well you did showcasing your magic at that convention. And because loads of colleges see loads of performers, they talk to each other. So
Correct.
nobody gets away with being awful
No.
because you won't get booked the second season, let alone the second event. But nobody gets away being awful, and everyone really has to be exceptional at showcasing themselves and booking themselves and things like that. So winning an award in such a competitive industry is really incredible. So talk to me about, did I nail the understanding of that industry, or what did I miss? And talk to us about this award and the performing in this industry.
Okay. Well, first of all, you did nail it. And the award is from the Association for the Promotion of Campus Activities. The way this award is given, the colleges are the ones who vote on it. So it's nothing that anyone actually competes to get. It's not like a magic competition. The best all the magicians get up there and perform the best one.
Right.
No, 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 no. It's not like that. It's just the schools that you perform for. Something is sent out to all of them. There's different categories: a band, comedian, magician, so forth. The nominees are there, and the schools vote on who they feel is the best of that particular category. So it was really an honor to receive that. That being said, I would say a couple things about the college market. It is saturated. It's highly competitive. It's highly competitive with magicians, comedians, and so forth. It's highly competitive. As we were talking earlier, it's like a black hole. If you can survive it, you will thrive. But a lot of people do get eaten up in this industry. There's some phenomenal college magicians that I really enjoy. Spidey, Michael Kent, Stephen Brundage, Daniel Martin. These are some heavy hitters. And it's an industry, as you said, you have to be on your A game. And I've heard a lot of magicians who say, oh, yeah, I'm going to get into the college market. I got this incredible act, and I won competitions with this act, and I'm just going to kill the college market. I'm going to take it over. And when they show up, they find out very quickly it's not what they thought it is. It's a different type of animal. It takes a lot of perseverance, a lot of hard work, working on your act, and drunk college kids, they could be a bit tough.
What's so interesting about college is that there is no fakery.
Oh no.
Like, you have to be so authentic. They can see through that bullshit, and they didn't dress up and come and they're going to clap regardless. Like, it is like, when people talk about all the goodness of working with kids and how they like speak up when they see
Mhm.
something or whatever, like, it's that times a million. And like, you cannot fake who you are up on that stage. And the best college performers I
Mhm.
know are, they don't go on stage and become like, whoa, like someone completely
Right.
different. They are like so good on who they are, and they just like slay it. And because college students can smell out
Oh,
that
and they
bullshit
will
better
let you
than
know.
anyone.
They will let you know. The
Yeah.
other thing about the
Yeah.
college market, which makes it challenging for some people, I like to say 10% of what I do is on stage. The other 90% is what I do off stage. And that is outside the college market, I do cruise ships and corporate shows also. So it's the marketing and everything. But with the college market, there's a lot of traveling. And that traveling can be brutal. You have a show in the evening in Iowa. By the time the show is over, you packed up your bag in your hotel. And you got something to eat. It's what, 2 a.m. in the morning. You're checking your emails and calling loved ones or whatever, and then but you have to be in Nebraska the next day for a noon show. So that means you're only going to get maybe 2 or 3 hours sleep to drive another 2 hours to catch a flight to get to Nebraska or some other part of the country. And it's wash, rinse, repeat. That's how grueling it is being on the road. So it could be taxing physically that way because you get little sleepy and you have to get on that stage and you just want to have to rock it out. And then you get off the stage and students want to talk to you. Occasionally there's someone who's interested in magic, so they want a session with you, and you do that. It's fun.
Yeah.
And then back in that car, back on that airplane, flying to another city. So
Do
it's
you feel like you're a magician, you get to perform for a living, you've won? Or do you feel like you just picked a different job, what I joke as the highest paying hourly job? Like when I talk about this issue, like, does it feel like a grind, or does it have the joy that it used to? Or maybe what do you do to help, bring back that joy when it feels like it's just like absolutely draining and endless?
I would say the joy has changed. It doesn't feel like a job to me, but the joy has changed. It initially started off, oh, wow, my gosh, I'm making a living doing magic. That is old hat now. The joy now is how can I connect or do something different with the audience differently tonight? The joy is the logistics, that 90% off stage. Okay, I've been to this college, I've been to this college, I've been to this college. Can I go back? How can I give them something different, a different show? Oh, you know what? I've been to all but 5 states in the country. How can I strategize to get there? How can I, you know what? I'm going to be in Nashville, Tennessee for a school. There's the House of Cards there. Let me see if I could link that to that. So it's that business side that's exciting to me, and that's the new joy for me.
I love it. I see the same fun in the problem solving of magic that I do in like the problem solving of like business and arranging and finding client. You know what I mean? Like it's this interesting, like, can I do this while I'm here? Can I, oh look, I'm driving through this city.
Mhm,
Like, can I go stop there? Like, it's a whole other type of fun. So I love it. So now it feels like, the magic is like maybe the
mhm.
product that you're selling, and you get to have a fun, creative way of selling it and sharing it with the world.
Also, in capturing or the change in joy is that I have a different mindset in terms of I had to shift my mindset. Like, look, I know I have to be in this state on Tuesday. I'm going to fly in on Sunday and I'm just going to tour, see some of the museums, see some of the historical sites, see if there's a magic club or a magician in that town and hang out with them. Uh, so now I get this. It's not just about travel, 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 perform, 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 but it's like a mini vacation. You get to see some things. And I said, wow, magic has afforded me to see literally the world. And I'm going to make space to see those things when I can in my schedule. All the time, it's not possible all the time, but when I can, I'm going to make space to see that and just meeting people, connecting outside of magic. Uh,
What's so cool is like the performing of magic allows you to do the other part of magic, which is like the jamming and sessioning with magicians around the globe. So it's like they both sort of feed each other in a cool way where it's like I get to see a city, I get to meet magicians, I get to perform, I get to, you get to do a lot by going into to doing some different cities. So I love that. What a great way to think about it, and also what a great maybe thing to help motivate you on the back end to be like, where else can I go? Who else can I meet? Can I go back and jam with that guy
mhm,
again? And you know what I mean? Like another cool tool to play with. That's awesome.
mhm.
Let's say someone was listening to this and they wanted to do this college thing or they wanted to start. What kind of advice would you have for them?
The first thing I would say is this: you have to have an hour act. Have an act that you're comfortable with, that you have your ring time. I didn't say flight time, I said ring time. And the difference is we know with flight time, you get your 10,000 hours of doing the show. I call it ring
Yeah.
time because I liken it to boxing. The first round, you go out, you fill out your opponent, you go back in your corner. Your coaches said, do this, do this, do this, do this. Trainer said, do this, do this. You go back and you do what the trainer says, and you find out that works. So that's what I call the difference between flight time and ring time. So you have to have an act that you went out there, you tried it, didn't work out, or some things didn't work out. You go back, you reevaluate, you look at the video, you talk to your friends who saw the show, they give you feedback, you go back out there. So now your act is polished. That's the first thing. That's the gatekeeper even before you get into the college one. The second thing is do not have this illusion that you are going to be performing every single time in these beautiful theaters. Sometimes you will be in a beautiful theater. Sometimes you will be in a conference room. Other times you will be in an actual classroom performing. And so you have to be able to adapt. That's the second thing. Be able to adapt. to different performing environments. And the third thing I would say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You have to crawl before you walk, walk before you run, run before you fly. Individuals that I've spoken to said, "Oh, I'm going to come into the college market and I'm going to kill it within the next 2 years." Then they realize, no, that's not the case, because you have to introduce yourself to the college market. They have to get to know you. They need to see your act.
Word has to start to get around.
Right, right, right. So you do a show, as you said earlier, you do a show, and these schools start talking to each other. They do. Like, oh, yeah, Jonah was just at our school. He did a phenomenal show. That's someone you should get. Ah, now that school will get you. Oh, yeah, Jonah was great. That was a great recommendation. I'm going to recommend Jonah to a couple other schools in my area. And so it starts to build. It starts to build. And so those are the three things that I would say, uh, advice that I would give to people who want to enter the college market. Definitely have your act. Make sure you have your act an hour. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And don't get deceived on thinking that you're going to be performing in beautiful theaters all the time. You have to be adaptable. So, yes, be adaptable, have an act, and it's a marathon. And you would do well. You would do well. You would do well.
I love those. A few that really stick out to me. The marathon thing is really interesting because not every industry of magic requires that sort of
Mm-hmm.
long-term vision, right? Like you could, if you can do some magic now, you can go get 2 3 restaurant gigs, right? Like, and that doesn't require that sort of like you're banking on 4 years from now, not next year or this year, right? But I think something like the college market does. And I also think it's a good thing for people to keep in mind that two things. Number one, picking a specific market is going to be incredibly beneficial compared to just being a general all purpose magician. And then the second thing is picking a market and going into it is a multi-year commitment, right? So it's a commitment that you're saying like, I hope these people talk to each other. I hope that they, tell each other how good I was and about their experience and whatever. I want word to get around so that people are even starting to hear of me before I have to go out and reach out to them. So I love that mentality of your thing. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You want to be thinking a few years into the ahead, and you make the decision to plunge into a new market. That should be a decision that you stick to for a little while, and that'll give you benefit. Like it'll help that grow. So that's amazing. What great advice. Let's talk about something called the heart and soul of magic. This is something that really blew my mind when you were telling me about it, how long it's been running, and some of the goals that you have for it. So let's talk a little bit. What is the heart and soul of magic?
The Heart and Soul of Magic is a magic show that features a cast of all African American magicians with diverse styles. I came up with this concept actually before I went full time. I would attend magic conventions, and the question that came to my mind was something I observed was like, there's not that many African American magicians. How come I'm the only one? How come there's only two in a convention of only 500 people? And I said, there has to be more. And so I started contacting magicians that I knew. I was like, do you know any African American magicians? Yes, 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 yes. So I got this crazy idea in my head. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to do a show that features all African American magicians. And that was around, I think, 2002. And I've been doing it off and on since then. And the lineup has changed over time. We had uh, Puck, who's a phenomenal cruise ship magician. Chris Capehart, I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah,
Uh,
he just did the bash, and he had me in freaking hysterics. He is so good. He was so funny.
yes, he's a funny, hysterical guy. And so after college, and when I decided to do magic full time, Chris lived around the corner from me. And I just met him in another part of the city, and we started talking. And Chris was doing street magic. He's phenomenal. And one day I was watching him perform street magic, and he said, "It's hot out here." He said, "I'm gonna go get a couple bottles of water, but I don't want to lose my spot. Stay here and do some magic to keep my spot." And I stayed there and I started doing some magic. And lo and behold, as I was performing, Chris came back and he just sat there and watched me. And when I was done my set, he looked in the bucket and he said, "Oh, you got some money there. That's not bad." And from there, Chris and started kind of action. That kind of he started mentoring me actually on not just street magic, but just magic in general. He said, you need to have a look. You need to do something with your look. That's when I grew my dreadlocks. He said, you need to define yourself a different way. You need to do this, you do that. And so that's that going back to what I was saying, you have this support group to help you out when you're making that leap. But let's get back to the heart and soul of magic. So Chris was on there, Ice McDonald was on there, Frank Brentz was on there. If you look up Frank Brentz, he was known for doing a duck act. The last time he performed that duck act was the second Heart and Soul of Magic. That was the last time he did it. And he was in his 80s when he did that act, and it just blew it away. We had Hiawatha. We had Eric Jones was on one of the Heart and Soul of Magic, Kevin Bethea, Joshua Masato. So over the years, we had various performers. And the goal right now is to get this, and this is my passion project, is to get this to become a touring show that will tour the nation, featuring these magicians who are excellent. Right now, the current lineup, we have Jamal Keys, and he does this silent act to the Harlem Renaissance era type of music, big band, swing, jazz. We have Kid Ace, who's in the college market and does
Yeah.
illusions and he does a dove act. We
You
have
know,
me.
just to interject, I met him at like him and I were both attending Darren Brown's show in New York, and we were just chatting because I don't know how we spotted each other as magicians, but we were
Mhm,
talking and I added him on social, and I've just been like blown away by everything he's been doing, cruise ships, college market,
mhm,
whatever. So a good reminder. I wrote his name down earlier when you messaged him, when you mentioned him,
mhm,
of someone for me to reach out to for the podcast, because what a
mhm.
good great guy who's really blowing really slaying it right now.
Right. And just to add a little texture to the show, we added the juggler named Paris.
Oh,
Just
amazing.
yeah, so that's what it is right now. And we have a couple dates in lined up in January. I'm trying to get some dates in January of next year. We did one this year, and we're in the works of talking to a couple theaters for this year. It's a grind, but once again, I welcome the grind, and I think it's fun, and it's a passion project that I know that is feasible. Uh, so it's just a matter of time. Maybe someone will see it or hear about it and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I want to pick that up. Yeah, we could do this. We could do this." So we'll see what
I
happens.
love it. That's very exciting, and exciting that it's been, it's kept going and kept growing since 2002,
Hmm.
which is amazing. And yeah, this is great. If people want to learn more about this, it's theheartandsoulofmagic.com. Is that right?
Correct. Correct.
And find out if they're coming to your area. And it's really amazing, bringing on some amazing performers, and helping that thing that we were talking about earlier, which is like, reaching out and finding the people, right? And maybe more than sitting back, and really reaching out and finding them, and showcasing amazing African American performers to the world, and
Hmm.
help bringing them front of mind. So I really love it. I love this project. Near the end of this podcast, we have wrap up questions. So a few questions. Actually, you listen to this podcast, right?
Yes, I do. I listen to it all the time while I'm traveling. I do. And even when I'm not traveling, I listen to it.
You know, it's so crazy to me, and the thing that I never, ever, ever thought is when I pictured the podcast, I always pictured it as like I never thought the people I would be interviewing would be the people that would be listening to it. You know what I mean? Like a few times it's happened, like you, like Matt DeZero, people that listen to it while they're on the road, and super humbled. So it's amazing. But I don't have to explain to you what it means by a wrap up question.
Right.
That was why I asked. So let's start. So what is one thing in the 2019-2020 world of Magic that you like that's going on right now, and something in the 2019-2020 world of Magic that you don't really like that's happening?
2019 World of Magic. I'm going to tell you something that I do like, and I was thinking about this the other day. I am loving the fact that there is this resurgence of books in Magic. There are a
Oh,
lot of great
nice.
books. I listened to your episode with Brent Braun. He
Yeah.
just put out a new book that I just
Yeah.
got. The book on Jeff Lotta's book that came out earlier this year, or was it at the end of
Yeah.
last year? The Magic Rainbow by Juan
Yeah.
Tamarins. I'm loving this. I'm loving the fact that that there's a resurgence of books. I always like to speak and say quotes and things of that nature. The best kept secrets are in a book,
Yeah.
and I think we're to this balance now where there's a lot of information in books that are coming out now, great information. And the other side of the balance is that, downloads and DVDs and things of that nature. So now we're not leaning more towards one than the other. They both have their place, but the balance was shifted for a while. And now I'm seeing it come,
They're
it's
coming back.
aligned now. So I'm
Mhm.
loving that. I'm loving, and I'm spending a lot of money on books, and I'm spending a lot of late
Me
night
too.
reading.
I was thinking about how 2019, it's May. I think I've read more books in the last January, February, March, April, May, 5 months than I have in the first 5 months of any year of my life. Like, I think I've really outdone the amount of books that I've read this year, and that is mostly to do with the amount of incredible Magic books that have been released. Love that. What about Magic in 2019, 2020 do you not like, or would you like to see less of, or like to see change?
What I would like to see less of. Um, hmm. There's a few things. As I said, I have this love-hate relationship with social media. You know what? I know exactly what I would like to see less of. I would like to see less of this bickering over frivolous topics and issues in Magic. I would really love to see that. At one point, I used to get in these debates over whatever on Magic and online. Then I decided, let me stop because it's not productive to me. Number two, there's more than one way to reach a destination. If that's the way you want to market, that doesn't mean the way I market is wrong. If that's the way you want to control a card to the top, that doesn't mean my way of controlling the card to the top is wrong. I think that there's this thing that everyone is trying to be the next guru. And in trying to achieve that, you belittle or you talk down to people. But also would say that part of that is social media because when you type something on social media in any of these forums, uh, it loses context. You don't hear the tonality of their voice. We're communicating in shorthand. I remember I had a debate with someone on one of these platforms, and it was getting nowhere. And I just said, I private messaged him. I said, give me a call because I think something's getting lost in translation on both of our
Yeah,
parts. So I sent him my number. He gave me a call, and then we realized we were on the same page.
right.
So I think less of getting into these debates over it. Some stuff is healthy, constructive conversation, but too much of it is not.
Totally.
And so less ego in magic. And I know that's hard for us as entertainers, as magicians, but actually that's hard for any type of artist. But let's put our ego in check a little bit more.
I love that, and I think, a lot of people, when they talk about the thing they don't like about magic, they're usually being very specific about, like, "Oh, I don't like the debates about this, or the back and forth about this." But you're just like, "Let's just stop getting bogged down by these, like, social media bickering battles, and if we wanna have a conversation, maybe pick up the phone and call and have a conversation, maybe, try to get to the bottom of it, or get to a place that you're comfortable with it, and move on."
Yes.
Like,
Mhm,
we
mhm.
need to be stuck on these issues forever. I love that. What a great piece of advice. The next thing is the endless chain. So, in order to keep the podcast going on for eternity, each guest recommends another guest that absolutely must be on the podcast. Who must I have on the podcast?
Now, this is hard because I knew this question was coming. I knew this question was coming, and I had two people in mind for two different
You can mention
reasons.
them both. You're welcome to mention them both.
Okay. All right. The first one, Chris Jones. He's a hypnotist.
Great.
Yes. Chris Jones. He was the gentleman who was on America's Got Talent that got Howie Mandel to
Oh,
shake his
I
hand.
know
And
who that is. I know who that is.
yes,
Yeah.
him. That
Great.
will be one person. The second person is this. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm saying this. I do not know this gentleman. I never spoke to him. I know nothing about him besides what I seen online. And that is Jabrizi. Why? I believe that will be your highest listening show that people will listen to the most. And I think I don't know anything about him, but he's so polarizing in magic. And I think if someone was just to have a conversation with him, and just a genuine conversation, not just as
Not gotcha. It's just get to the bottom of it. Like,
yes, like I said, you know what? Instead of having this online bickering, let's just have a conversation. Let's talk about
totally.
uh, how you got to the status in social media, and then some of the controversial things that you said, and what are your thoughts, and just a real honest conversation.
I agree
I,
with you. There's a few people in that similar position, that in the social media magic world, of that sense, that I am dying to get on for that reason, which is like, let's just understand exactly what was going on here and what is going on here, and from everyone's perspective. And I love that. What's funny is usually the caveat for recommending a new person that we generally say is, you have to be able to put us in contact with them. But I love that you're like, I have no idea.
I think I can do that
If
though.
you think you can do it, I'm excited.
I think I could do that because I do know people who know
Great.
him. So I think I could do
Great.
that. I think that, but I truly believe an honest conversation, because I did hear from several people that if you meet him in person and you have a conversation with him, he's a total different person. So one of the things I'm curious about is this a
Yeah.
character that you're playing on social media?
Yeah. I'm so interested to get it. And like, one of the things I
Mhm.
learned is, like, everyone is nice when you meet them in person. Not everyone, but all
That,
these people that we villainize online for different reasons, like,
mhm.
you meet them in person and they're great, amazing people, right? Like, no surprise.
I'm
So,
a big comic book fan, and one of the good things about a good villain in comic books is that they have an interesting backstory, and that's why they are what they are. And the backstory is normally they came from a good place, and just something happened in their lives that they couldn't deal with, and that's what made them the villain. But that's also what made Spider-Man such a good hero, because if you really think about it, the death of his uncle Ben, that could have easily triggered him the other way to becoming a villain, but he chose to be a hero.
I love it. The last thing I want to talk about is the take home point. So, people have been listening to us talk about so many different things for at least an hour now. And I want, when people to think back to the podcast, they think back to this episode, and they think of something comes front of mind. What is that thing that you want people to think of, or to remember when they think back to this episode?
I want them to think about the diversity of magic and be aware that There are a lot there's a diverse magic community out here. You just have to look for it. And there's some good magicians. And when I say diverse, I'm not just saying African Americans. I'm talking about women and different gender preferences and so forth. So I really want them to take away that. I will also want them to take away that this magic community is great, and be mindful to communicate with people that you disagree with. I mean, literally communicate. Pick up the phone, go out for coffee or something like that, and you're going to learn a lot. And so, if we could just deal with that, put our egos in check, yeah, I think that those are the two biggest takeaways I would
I
have.
love that. And I think, the people in this world who we disagree with most are, provides us with the most room to grow, right? Because it's the most different from what we classically think. So I love that. This has been some killer advice, as well as really eye opening. And if people have listened to this and they just discovered you and they're super excited to hear a little bit more and watch some of the videos that you have, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at randyshine.com. That's RANDYSHINE.com. And Instagram, Facebook is RAN underscore magic. RAN underscore magic. That's Instagram and Facebook.
And I'll also mention, while I was perusing your online stuff, you have some of the best promo videos I've ever seen in my life.
Thank
So
you.
big ups to that. And, I like to say big ups to the person who filmed it, but also, like, I'm sure a lot of that was just executing on your vision of what it should look like, because boy, did that look great. So I recommend people go check out, even if, go just check it out and see if you can find one or two of those videos, just so you can at the very least see what a dope promo video looks like. But more than that, to follow along his journey. And I'll just say, like, I've been following along some of the cool moments in your journey on social media by just following you, the release of the Amazon special, and just seeing you at cool stages and stuff. So it's been really fun. I recommend go follow Randy and go check out both The Heart and Soul of Magic, as well as Quiet Masters of Magic. And with that, thank you so much, Randy, for joining me on the episode. And of course, a big thank you to everybody at home who joined us again for another amazing Thursday. Randy, anything else that you want to tell the world of magicians before you go?
No, actually, yes. Peace, love, and magic.
Peace, love, and magic. And the first person to get that tattooed on them, I'm going to send you nothing at all. Okay. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you all next Thursday.
Thank you.
Peace. There you go. I hope that you liked the episode, and I hope that you learned something. Take a moment and ask yourself, what can you do today or this week that can help the underrepresentation of magic in your city? Who can you welcome with open arms? And what can you do that you haven't done before? I think Randy really helped open my eyes to just how much of a role that each of us need to play in helping the multicultural aspect of magic and helping this become a real multicultural hobby. So thank you once again for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you learned something. I hope you take action, and I hope I see you next Thursday.